Hello everyone, today I'm doing the 5th Summer of Sci-Fi review, and today we are doing Arthur C. Clarke's The Lost Worlds of 2001. So this came out in 1972 it said, but they had been writing this all throughout before even the movie was made, even when the script was made, because this is basically an account of the sort of material that Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick used in order to create the script for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And they have the very early, short story that Arthur C. Clarke already had that he sent to Stanley Kubrick and was like, this should be the climax of the movie. And it's the moon scene when they go and see the monolith for the first time. And it's a story called The Sentinel. It's a fantastic short story. I recommend everybody to read this overall, but if you only have time for The Sentinel, definitely go check that out if that's all you're interested in. But I really enjoyed reading this book because it goes from the very early days of writing the script all the way to after the movie was released. And it talks all about how the movie was made, how the script was made, and it has all of these sort of material and chapters that have been included in the story that they had in the script, that the script was sort of drawing off of the ideas that Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick were doing. And at one point they were like, hey, we should make that Sentinel story the beginning of the movie. And then they got the idea of the apes smashing the bones, which is a very iconic scene. And they go on from there. And it's just so fascinating reading this. And also getting a lot of the different versions of the same chapter, because you get a lot of the ending. Because one of the big things about the ending and about 2001: A Space Odyssey is that although it is a extraterrestrial story, you don't see any aliens throughout the entirety of the book or the movie. As far as I know about the book, I haven't read it. That's actually going to be next after my current sci-fi read. But I'm very excited because they went into all of the different ideas that they were going into that they wanted to do for the ending, and showing the aliens and showing what sort of the alien civilization was like on the other side of the black hole. And it was so fascinating too, because it wasn't even just the ending, but also the betraying part of the 2001 that they were chronicling throughout this book, because they were talking about all the different ways that that Bowman, the main character, would go into the ultimate trip, which is when he goes into all those shapes and colors and all that. It's basically an acid trip. And it's really funny because I love the movie. I've seen it dozens of times throughout my life, and I have the 4K, and I'm so excited for the Stanley Kubrick box set that Criterion Collection is doing, because I'm going to be able to get everything that Stanley Kubrick has done in one box, and I just can't fucking wait. But 2001: Space Odyssey, they have so many good special features on the 4K that I have, and they didn't talk about the book at all. And so the book is something that I just have no idea, how close the movie is. And this book kind of talks about it. But at the end of the day, this was like a commentary book and like a journal of Arthur C. Clarke's, of the making of the book 2001: Space Odyssey, and also the movie. And so this book kind of goes into just everything associated with that, and it was great. But the point that I wanted to make was that I'm so excited to go into the book now, because the author was talking about how when he and Stanley Kubrick would try and decide what to do, they finally got to a point, because they were butting heads so much. They were like, you know what, Stanley Kubrick, you can do what you want with your movie. I'll do what I want with my book, with 2001. And they were like, yeah, good, fine. And they basically came to a decision after that, after the little fight, when they got to that conclusion. They were like, okay, how about later, we just make it so the book is like a supplemental material to the movie. It's something that fans should go and seek out and read. And I loved reading that in this book, because that was something that I'd always wondered, was sort of all those different questions of like, how did they, what parts were Arthur C. Clarke, what parts were Stanley Kubrick? And now I know it's like both of them got to do their own version, and you can do both versions. Like, it's so exciting. And that's why I love reading and stuff like that. That's why I don't ever I usually try and read the book of adaptations after I watch the movie, because the movie is never better than the book. So I'd rather watch the movie first and kind of get my expectations, get, character names down, get familiar with the characters if it's a good adaptation. But like, the book is different, like this, book here. But like, it's always fun for me to like go into like the differences and the different media and the different formats and all that. So I can go on all day, but this book was fantastic. I think this is a really great place to start if you're a fan of the movie like me and you haven't read the book. I think this is a great kind of bridging preparation novel, because it gets you really kind of set, because he finishes the book and he has a little afterword where he's like, yeah, like the book's been out for a few years, but like I wanted this book to have really no spoilers, because he talks about like what they do, and they're like, yeah, we had this scene happen, but we took it out. We wanted this scene to happen, we took it out. And it's in this book. And then what's in the 2001 book is like mostly what the movie does, but it's like very different, is what Arthur C. Clarke said, because his use of language is just so different than Stanley Kubrick's. Where Stanley Kubrick, I feel like, is a lot more visual director, and that's why I really like him. And I love, Path of Glory, and I love Barry Lyndon, like that one's amazing. I love 2001. That's probably my favorite one by him. But yeah, I'm just so excited. This is like such an exciting time for me to be doing all these sci-fi novels. Because, man, I have fallen behind. I've been so fantasy focused. And sci-fi is just this genre that is a blind side to me. I mean, I know the major hitters. I've read, Three Body Problem. I've read the other ones, Expanse. I've read Perdido Street Station. Books like that are a little more like dark sci-fi. But now I'm getting into the classic sci-fi, and I'm loving it. So thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.